Group communication. So far we have discussed about the inter-process communication, in which the communication is between two different processes. That is, one sender and one receiver will be there. But this pairwise exchange of message is not the best model for communication from one process to a group of other processes, and that is called a group communication, sending a message from one process to a group of processes simultaneously. And this type of group communication will be necessary, for example, when a service is implemented as a number of different processes in different computers. Perhaps you provide fault tolerance or enhance availability, etc. So in case of distributed system, group communication is a necessary type of inter-process communication. So a multicast operation is more appropriate here. That is an operation that sends a single message from one process to each member of a group of processes, usually in such a way that the membership of the group is transparent to the sender. So there is a range of possibilities in the desired behavior of a multicast. The simplest multicast protocol usually provides no guarantees about message delivery or ordering. So the multicast communication sends a single message from one process to a group of members. And this type of communication is useful in the following scenarios. First one is fault tolerance based on replicated services. So a replicated service consists of a group of servers. Normally, the same service will be provided by multiple servers. And the client requests are multicast to all the members of the group. And each of the server will perform the same operation, identical operation. And now the benefit here is that even when some of the members or some of the servers fail, clients can still be served. That is one scenario. And second one is finding the discovery servers in spontaneous networking. So in a mobile environment or some such dynamic environment, there will be a requirement for service discovery. In the case of such an environment, multicast message can be used by the servers and the clients to locate available discovery services in order to register their interfaces or to look up their interfaces of other services in the distributed system. The third one is better performance through replicated data. So in the case of distributed system, most of the data may be replicated to improve the performance. And in some cases, replicas of the data are placed in users' computers also. So whenever the data changes, the corresponding change should be reflected in every copy. For that, the new value is multicast to the processes managing the replicas. And the fourth scenario is propagation of event notifications. So multicast to a group may be used to notify processes when something happens. For example, in Facebook, when someone changes their status, all their friends receive notifications, right? Or in case of YouTube, when a new video is released, all the subscribers will be notified about this new release using this multicast. So IP multicast is an implementation of this multicast communication. So we can see the different characteristics of IP multicast. Now IP multicast, which is built on the top of Internet Protocol. So normally IP packets are addressed to computers, right? The corresponding port which belongs to TCP and UDP level. And IP multicast allows senders to transmit a single IP packet to a set of computers that forms a multicast group. The sender is unaware of the identities of individual recipients of or the size of the group. And a multicast group is usually specified by a class D address, internet address in IP version 4. That is in class D address, the first 4 bits of the address will be 1110 in IP version 4. Different features are there, like being a member of a multicast group, a computer can receive IP packets sent to the group. Like that, the membership of multicast group is dynamic. That is, a computer can leave or join at any time to a group, and it can join multiple groups. Arbitrary number of groups can be joined. And also it is possible to send datagrams to multicast group without being a member in that group. And at application level, IP multicast is available only via UDP. That is, an application program performs multicast by sending UDP datagrams with multicast addresses and ordinary port numbers. It can join a multicast group by making its socket join the group, enabling it to receive messages to the group. And at the IP level, a computer belongs to a multicast group when one or more of its processes has sockets that belong to that group. So when a multicast message arrives at a computer, copies and forwarded to all the local sockets that have joined the specified multicast address and are bound to the specified port number. Now these are the details specific to IP version 4 multicast. First one is multicast routers. So IP packets can be multicast both on a local network and on the wider internet. So local multicast use the multicast capability of the local network itself, just for example Ethernet. Whereas internet multicast make use of multicast routers, which forward single datagrams to routers on other networks, where they are again multicast to local members. So to limit the distance of propagation of a multicast datagram, the sender can specify the number of routers it is allowed to pass, which is called time to live field, or TTL in short. A second, multicast address allocation. So class D addresses are reserved for multicast traffic and managed globally by the IANA, that is Internet Assigned Numbers Authority. The management of this address space is reviewed annually and with the current practice documented in RPC 3171. So the multicast addresses may be permanent or temporary. So when a temporary group is created, it requires a free multicast address to avoid accidental participation in an existing group. So how to allocate this address? That's an issue which is not much addressed by the IP multicast protocol. Failure model for multicast datagrams. So datagrams multicast over IP multicast have the same failure characteristics as UDP datagrams. That is, they suffer from omission failures. So some members in the group may receive message while others may not. This can be called as unreliable multicast because it does not guarantee that a message will be delivered to any member of a group. Another issue is that ordering in multicast. So IP packets sent over an internet network do not necessarily arrive in the order in which they were sent. And the effect is that some group members receive datagrams from a single sender in a different order from other group members. And also, messages sent by two different processes will not necessarily arrive in the same order at all members of the group. Now let us go through programming model of group communication. So in group communication, the central concept is that of a group with associated group membership, whereby processes may join or leave a group. Processes can send a message to this group and have it propagated to all members of the group with certain guarantees in terms of reliability and ordering. We can say that group communication implements multicast communication. That is, a message is sent to all members of the group by a single operation. So this essential feature of group communication is that a process issues only one multicast operation to send a message to each of a group of processes, instead of issuing multiple send operations to individual processes. So this use of single multicast operation instead of multiple send operations definitely makes convenient to the programmer. Also, it enables the implementation to be efficient in its utilization of bandwidth. So this group communication implements multicast, and two more types of communications are there. Those are unicast and broadcast. Unicast is actually point-to-point communication between two different processes. So if you want to send the same message to multiple processes, we have to replicate and send individual copies. Broadcast communication to all processes in the system. Now let us be familiar with some terms in group communication. First one is process groups and object groups. Coming to process groups, so these are groups where the communicating entities are processes. So we can say that those types of groups are in which services are relatively low. So messages are delivered to processes rather than individual methods or objects. So no further support for dispatching is there. And also messages are typically unstructured byte arrays with no support for marshalling complex data types. And second category is object groups, in which communication is between different objects. So each group will be a collection of objects, and usually this collection will be instances of same class. So in object groups, communication systems send invocation to the members of the group. Object parameters and results are marshaled in RMI, and associated calls are dispatched automatically to the right destination. It can be either objects or methods. So we can say that in object groups, the services are little more higher level, in which the endpoint will be specifically some objects or methods, and parameter marshalling and everything is there, just like RMI. Now closed groups and open groups. Closed group, a group is said to be closed if only members of the group may multicast to it. So a process in a closed group delivers to itself any message that it multicasts to the group. A group is open if processes outside the group may send to it. Here we can see that a process outside the group is able to send message here, whereas in here it is not possible here in the case of a closed group. Closed groups are useful, for example, cooperating servers to send messages to one another, that only they should receive that message. Whereas open groups are useful in cases like delivering events to groups of interested processes. They may be outside the group. Next, overlapping and non-overlapping groups. So in case of overlapping groups, entities may be members of multiple groups. Whereas in case of non-overlapping groups, membership does not overlap. That is, any process belongs to at most one group. So in real life system, we have to expect group membership will overlap, right? Now let us turn to the implementation issues of group communication services. So we can just discuss the properties of underlying multicast service like reliability and ordering, and also the key role of group membership management in dynamic environment. Especially the processes can join, leave or fail at any time. Now the reliability and ordering in group communication. In a one-to-one communication, reliability means, or we can define the reliability in terms of two different terms, right? Integrity and validity are the two different properties to be maintained. Integrity means the message received is the same as the one sent, and no messages are delivered twice. And validity means any outgoing message is eventually delivered to the receiver. Now coming to multicast, reliable multicast built on these two properties itself, that is integrity and validity. Integrity means the same way in terms of delivering the message correctly at most once, and validity guaranteeing that a message sent will eventually be delivered. To extend the semantic to cover delivery to multiple receivers, a third property is also added here, that is called agreement, stating that if the message is delivered to one process, then it is delivered to all processes in the group. Just like reliability, group communication demands extra guarantees in terms of relative ordering of messages delivered to multiple destinations. Ordering is not guaranteed by the underlying interprocess communication primitives. That is the major challenge. For example, if multicast is implemented by a series of one-to-one messages, then there may be subject to arbitrary delays, right? Similarly, problem will be there in the case of IP multicast also. So to counter these, group communication services offer ordered multicast. So with the option of one or more of the following properties: FIFO ordering, causal ordering and total ordering. So first one is FIFO ordering. FIFO or first in first out ordering is concerned with preserving the order from the perspective of a sender process. In that, if a process sends one message before another, it will be delivered in this order at all processes in the group. Second one is causal ordering. Causal ordering takes into account causal relationship between messages, in that if a message happens before another in the distributed system, the so-called causal relationship will be preserved in the delivery of the associated message at all processes. In total ordering. So in total ordering, if a message is delivered before another message at one process, then the same order will be preserved at all processes. Now the group membership management in group communication. So the key elements of group communication we can see here in the figure itself. So we can see the important role of group membership management in maintaining an accurate view of the current membership, given that entities may join, leave, or it may fail. In more detail, a group membership service has 4 main tasks. First one is providing an interface for group membership changes. So the membership service provides an operation to create and destroy process groups and to add or withdraw a process to or from a group. So in most systems, a single process may belong to several groups at the same time. This is true of IP multicast, for example. And second task is failure detection. The service monitors the group members not only in the case of they should crash, but also in case they should become unreachable because of a communication failure. The detector marks processes as suspected or unsuspected. The service uses the failure detector to reach a decision about the group's membership. It excludes processes from membership if it is suspected to have failed or to have become unreachable. Third task is notifying members of group membership changes. So this service notifies the group's members when a process is added or when a process is excluded because of some failure or when the process is deliberately withdrawn from the group. And the last task is performing group address expansion. So when a process multicasts a message, it supplies the group ID rather than a list of processes in the group. Now the membership management service expands this ID into the current group membership for delivery. The service can coordinate multicast delivery with membership changes by controlling address expansion. That is, it can decide consistently where to deliver any given message, even though the membership may be changing during delivery. So we can say that IP multicast is a weak case of group membership service because it maintains some of the properties but not all the properties. Like it does allow processes to join or leave groups dynamically, and it performs address expansion. But it does not itself provide group members with information about the current membership. In general, we can say that group communication is most effective in small scale and static systems, and does not operate as well in large scale environments or environments with high degree of volatility. Thank you.